Captain Jake Martinez stood on the bridge of the UES Horizon, watching the alien ship grow larger on the main screen. It was huge, maybe 10 times the size of his own vessel. The metal hull looked dark and dangerous, covered in sharp angles and weapon ports. This was humanity's first real meeting with alien races, and Jake felt the weight of his entire species resting on his shoulders. "Captain, we're getting their docking instructions now," said Lieutenant Amy Torres from her communications station. Her voice was steady, but Jake could see the tension in her shoulders. They had trained for this moment for years, but nothing could really prepare them for meeting creatures from other worlds. Dr. Lisa Park looked up from her research tablet, her eyes bright with excitement and worry. "The data we received about the Galactic Council shows over 40 different species. Most of them are completely unlike anything we've seen on Earth." She paused, checking her notes again. "The Korath Empire is hosting this meeting. They're described as the most powerful military force in the galaxy." Commander Ryan Bell moved closer to the viewing screen, his hand resting naturally near his sidearm. As head of security, he had studied every piece of information they had about these aliens. "The reports say no one has ever beaten the Korath in a fight. They've been the top military power for thousands of years." Jake nodded slowly. The human delegation was small, just the 4 of them, plus 2 junior officers. Earth's leaders had decided that a small group would seem less threatening. Now Jake wondered if that had been a mistake. The alien ship in front of them looked like it could destroy entire planets. "Take us in, Lieutenant Torres," Jake ordered. "Nice and slow. We don't want to make them nervous." The docking process took almost an hour. The alien ship's docking bay was enormous, filled with strange machines and creatures Jake couldn't identify. As the horizon settled into place, he could see dozens of different life forms moving around the bay. Some walked on 2 legs like humans, others had 4 or 6 legs. A few seemed to float in the air without any visible means of support. "Remember the briefing," Jake told his team as they prepared to leave their ship. "We're here to learn and to show that humans can be trusted. Stay calm, be respectful, and follow my lead." The airlock opened with a soft hiss. Jake stepped through first, followed by his team. The air smelled different, full of strange chemical scents that made his nose twitch. The gravity felt slightly lighter than Earth normal, making each step feel bouncy. A group of aliens waited for them just outside the airlock. The largest creature stood almost 8 feet tall, covered in dark scales that reflected the overhead lights. Its eyes were yellow and slitted like a snake's, and its mouth was full of sharp teeth. This had to be one of the Korath. "I am Commander Vexitar," the large alien said in heavily accented English. His voice was deep and rough, like gravel sliding down a metal slope. "You are the humans from the 3rd planet of Sol system." "Yes," Jake replied, stepping forward with his hand extended in the human gesture of greeting. "I'm Captain Jake Martinez. This is my team." Vexitar looked at Jake's extended hand for a long moment, but didn't take it. Instead, he began walking in a slow circle around the human group. Jake felt like prey being studied by a predator. The alien's yellow eyes never left the humans as he moved. Other aliens had gathered to watch the meeting. Jake noticed that most of them stayed well back from both the humans and the Korath. A small, furry creature that looked almost like a rabbit stood behind what appeared to be a crystalline being. Neither one would look directly at the humans. "You have come far from your world," Vexitar said, still circling. "Your species is young. Very young compared to most here." "We're eager to learn," Dr. Park said, trying to sound friendly. "Earth has many different species, but we've never met intelligent life from other planets before." At her words, several of the watching aliens made sounds that might have been gasps or clicks of surprise. A tall, thin creature with large black eyes stepped forward slightly. "Different species on one world?" it asked in a high musical voice. "How do you survive with competing life forms?" Jake and his team exchanged glances. The question seemed odd. "We don't really compete anymore," Amy Torres explained. "Humans are the dominant species on Earth, but we protect and care for the other animals." More sounds of surprise came from the watching crowd. The rabbit-like alien actually took A step backward. Jake was starting to feel like they had said something wrong, but he couldn't figure out what. Commander Vextar stopped circling and stood directly in front of Jake. The alien was so tall that Jake had to tilt his head back to meet those yellow eyes. "Show me your teeth, human," Vextar commanded. "What?" Jake asked, confused. "Your teeth. Open your mouth. Show me." Jake looked at his team, then slowly opened his mouth. Vextar leaned down to look inside, his own scaled face coming uncomfortably close. After a moment, the alien straightened up and made a sound that might have been a growl. Forward-facing eyes, Vextar said to the other aliens. "Sharp canine teeth. Binocular vision for tracking prey." He turned back to Jake. "You are hunters." "Well, yes," Ryan Bell said carefully. "Humans evolved as hunters, but that was a long time ago. Now we mostly eat plants and animals we raise on farms." The reaction from the alien crowd was immediate and dramatic. Several creatures made sounds of fear or alarm. The rabbit-like being actually ran away, disappearing through a doorway in the far wall. Even the crystalline creature seemed to dim its internal light. Only the Korath remained calm. Vextar nodded slowly, as if Jake's team had confirmed something he already suspected. "Come," the large alien said. "The council waits, but first, you will be examined." They were led through corridors that seemed designed for creatures much larger than humans. The walls were covered in symbols and pictures that Jake couldn't read, but some of the images looked like star maps. Others showed what might have been battles between different alien races. As they walked, Jake noticed that other aliens in the corridors moved out of their way, not in a respectful manner, but more like they were avoiding something dangerous. A group of small, blue-skinned creatures pressed themselves against the wall as the humans passed, their large eyes following every movement. "Dr. Park," Jake said quietly, "are you getting readings on their behavior?" Lisa nodded, checking a small device she carried. "Elevated stress responses for most species we've encountered. Increased heart rates, defensive posturing. They're scared of us, Captain." "Why would they be scared?" Amy asked. "We haven't done anything threatening." Commander Bell was watching, the aliens around them with professional interest. "It's not what we've done," he said quietly. "It's what we are. Look at how they move around us. They're treating us like predators." Jake thought about this as they continued walking. Humans had always known they were predators, but on Earth they were also the protectors of other species. The idea that aliens might see them only as hunters was troubling. They entered a large chamber filled with strange furniture and equipment. Dozens of different alien species were present, arranged in what looked like a formal meeting setup. At the center of the room was a raised platform where the most important-looking aliens sat. Commander Vextar gestured for the humans to stand in the center of the room. Jake could feel hundreds of alien eyes watching their every move. The silence was heavy and uncomfortable. Finally, a voice spoke from the platform. It was translated through speakers around the room into English. "Humans of Earth," the voice said, "you have requested membership in the Galactic Council. Before this can be considered, you must be evaluated. The process will determine if your species is suitable for civilized society." Jake stepped forward. "We're ready to begin," he said, trying to project confidence he didn't entirely feel. "Very well," the voice replied. "But first, answer this question. What is your world's apex predator?" The question hung in the air like a challenge. Jake looked at his team, seeing his own confusion reflected in their faces. Dr. Park started to speak, probably to list Earth's various predators, but something in the alien's tone made Jake hesitate. Looking around the room at all those watching eyes, Jake suddenly understood. These aliens weren't asking about Earth's predators. They already knew the answer. They were asking the humans to admit what they were. "We are," Jake said simply. The room erupted in sounds of alarm and fear, and in that moment, Jake realized that humanity's first contact with alien life was going to be far more complicated than anyone on Earth had imagined. The meeting chamber had grown quiet again, but Jake could still feel the tension in the air. Many of the alien representatives were whispering among themselves in languages that sounded like clicks, whistles, and musical tones. The translation, Devices around the room hummed softly as they worked to convert the alien conversations into English. A new voice spoke from the raised platform, clearer than the first. I am Council Leader Zekmoth of the Unified Worlds. Each species seeking membership must demonstrate their achievements and culture to the Council. You will show us what humanity has accomplished. Dr. Lisa Park stepped forward, carrying a small device that could project images and videos. We've prepared a presentation about human history and our achievements, she said. Her voice echoed in the large chamber. Begin, Council Leader Zekmoth replied. Lisa activated her device, and a holographic display appeared in the center of the room. The first images showed Earth from space, blue and green and beautiful. Several aliens made appreciative sounds at the sight of humanity's homeworld. This is Earth, Lisa explained. Humans have lived there for over 200,000 years. We started as small tribes, but we learned to work together and build great civilizations. The display changed to show ancient human settlements, then cities, then modern metropolises with towering buildings and busy streets. The aliens watched with interest, but Jake noticed they seemed more relaxed when viewing these peaceful scenes. Lisa continued with images of human art, music, and literature. She showed them pictures of hospitals where humans cared for the sick, schools where children learned, and scientists working to understand the universe. The alien audience seemed pleased by these demonstrations of culture and learning. Humans have always been explorers, Amy Torres added, taking over the presentation. We've traveled to every part of our world, from the highest mountains to the deepest oceans. We've even begun to explore space. The display showed human expeditions to Antarctica, deep-sea research vessels, and the first lunar landing. Several aliens nodded their approval at humanity's spirit of discovery, but then the presentation moved to human history, and everything changed. The first clip showed ancient humans hunting mammoths across frozen plains. The camera followed a group of early humans as they worked together to bring down an animal many times their size. The hunting party used spears and clever tactics, surrounding the massive creature and wearing it down over hours of pursuit. The reaction in the chamber was immediate and dramatic. Many aliens made sounds of distress or fear. The rabbit-like creature that had returned to watch the presentation actually fell backward off its seat. Even some of the larger, more confident-looking aliens shifted uncomfortably. This is how our ancestors survived, Dr. Park explained, not yet understanding the alien reaction. Early humans were persistence hunters. We would chase animals until they were too tired to run anymore. Commander Vextar leaned forward from his position near the platform. His yellow eyes were fixed on the display with intense interest. Show more, he commanded. The presentation continued with more historical footage. There were scenes of human warfare throughout history, soldiers working together with military precision. There were clips of modern humans competing in sports, their faces showing fierce determination as they fought to win. Jake watched the alien audience and began to understand their growing discomfort. Every time the display showed humans in competition or conflict, the aliens became more agitated. They weren't seeing human achievements. They were seeing predator behavior. A small insectoid alien near the front of the chamber stood up on its thin legs. Its translated voice was high and nervous. Why do you show us your hunting behavior? Do you wish to frighten us? Dr. Park looked confused. These are just historical records. We're showing you how humanity developed and grew. You are showing us how you killed, the insect alien replied. How you chased prey until it could run no more. How you worked in groups to bring down creatures larger than yourselves. Commander Vextar stood up from his position, his massive frame towering over everyone else in the chamber. Stop the display, he ordered. The holographic images disappeared instantly. The Korath commander walked slowly into the center of the room where the humans stood. His movements were careful and controlled, like a warrior ready for battle. When he reached Jake, he stopped and stared down at the human captain with those unsettling yellow eyes. You hunt in packs, Vextar said. It wasn't a question. Our ancestors did, Jake replied carefully. Modern humans don't need to hunt for survival anymore. But you still compete, the alien continued. You still fight. You still work together to defeat opponents. Ryan Bell spoke up from his position, behind Jake. Competition and teamwork are part of human nature, yes, but we compete in sports and games now, not life or death situations. Vextar made that growling sound again. Show us your world's apex predator, he demanded, just as he had when the humans first arrived. This time, Dr. Park was ready with an answer. She reactivated her device and displayed images of Earth's great predators, great white sharks cutting through ocean water with deadly grace, polar bears hunting seals on Arctic ice, Siberian tigers stalking through snowy forests. Earth has many apex predators, she explained. Different environments have different top hunters. In the oceans we have sharks and whales. On land we have bears, big cats, and crocodiles. But Commander Vextar was shaking his large head before she finished speaking. No, he said firmly. Show us the one that conquered your entire world. The one that made all other predators submit to its will. The chamber fell silent. Jake felt his heart rate increase as he began to understand what the alien was asking. Around the room, dozens of alien faces watched and waited for his answer. Amy Torres looked at her captain with wide eyes. Sir, she whispered, I think he's talking about us. Dr. Park's face had gone pale as the realization hit her too. She looked at her device, then at the assembled aliens, then back at Jake. The apex predator of Earth, she said slowly, is humanity. The reaction was explosive. Aliens throughout the chamber began making sounds of alarm, fear, and what might have been anger. Several creatures stood up from their seats and Jake saw some moving toward the exits. The small insectoid alien that had spoken earlier actually ran from the room, its thin legs carrying it away as fast as they could move. Commander, Vextar raised one massive hand and the chamber gradually became quiet again. But the tension in the air was now so thick that Jake felt like he could cut it with a knife. Humans eliminated their competition, Vextar stated, his voice carrying clearly through the translation system. They hunted the other apex predators of their world until humans alone ruled the entire planet. That's not exactly true, Dr. Park protested. Many large predators went extinct because of climate change and habitat loss, not because humans hunted them specifically. A new voice spoke from the platform, high and trembling with what sounded like fear. But you did hunt them. Your own historical records show humans hunting every large predator species on your world. You eliminated cave bears, saber-toothed cats, dire wolves, giant crocodiles, massive sharks. Jake couldn't deny it. Human history was full of conflicts, with dangerous animals, and humans had usually won. We had to defend ourselves, he said. These animals were threats to human settlements. You were threats to them first, another alien voice accused. You expanded into their territories. You took their hunting grounds. You eliminated them one by one until only humans remained as the dominant predator. Amy Torres stepped closer. To Jake, her hand moving instinctively toward her sidearm. The movement was small, but Jake saw several aliens notice it and back away further. Commander Vextar was still watching the humans with those calculating yellow eyes. Your species spread across your entire world, he said. Every continent, every climate, every environment. You adapted and conquered everywhere you went. We're explorers, Jake said, trying to keep his voice calm. Humans have always wanted to see what's beyond the next hill, across the next ocean. You are persistence. Hunters, Vextar corrected. You follow prey until it has nowhere left to run. Your ancestors chased mammoths across continents. Now you chase knowledge and territory across planets. Dr. Park looked around the chamber at all the watching alien faces. Many of them showed expressions that seemed to be fear, even though the emotions were displayed on features very different from human ones. What exactly are you trying to tell us? She asked. Commander Vextar was quiet for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his words sent a chill down Jake's spine. We know what you are, humans of Earth. We have seen your kind before, in the ancient records of worlds long dead. You are apex predators who learn to think, to plan, to work together. You are the nightmare that every prey species has feared since the dawn of time. The chamber erupted in chaos again, with aliens speaking in dozens of different languages, all at once. But through it all, Jake could hear one phrase being repeated over and over in various tongues. When the translation came through the speakers, the words hit him like a physical blow. The hunters have returned to the galaxy. The chaos in the chamber continued for several minutes before Council Leader Zekmoth managed to restore order. The alien's voice boomed through the translation speakers, demanding silence. Slowly, the various species stopped their panicked conversations and returned to their seats, though many kept glancing nervously at the human delegation. The Council will now decide how to proceed, Zekmoth announced. Never before has a predator species requested membership in our alliance. This situation requires special consideration. Jake felt his stomach tighten. The way the alien leader said special consideration didn't sound promising. He watched as groups of aliens huddled together, speaking in urgent whispers that the translation system couldn't pick up clearly. After what felt like hours but was probably only 20 minutes, the council leader spoke again. It has been decided. The humans will undergo the Predator's trial. A wave of surprised sounds rippled through the chamber. Even Commander Vextar seemed taken aback by this announcement. He stepped forward, his massive frame moving with surprising grace. Council leader, Vextar said. The Predator's trial has not been used for over 3,000 years. Most species refuse to attempt it. These are unusual circumstances, Zekmoth replied. The humans claim they are no longer the hunters their ancestors were. The trial will test this claim. Dr. Park leaned close to Jake. What exactly is this? Trial? She whispered. Before Jake could answer, a new alien approached their group. This creature was different from the others they had seen. It stood about 6 feet tall on 4 thin legs, with a body that looked almost like a cross between a spider and a bird. Its multiple eyes studied the humans with what seemed like scientific interest rather than fear. I am researcher Kliktar, the creature said through the translation system. I will explain the Predator's trial. It consists of 5 tests designed to measure the hunting instincts and aggressive behaviors of apex predator species. What kind of tests? Commander Bell asked, his hand still resting near his weapon. Physical combat, tactical problem-solving, leadership under pressure, moral decision-making, and pack coordination, Kliktar explained. Each test is designed to trigger predator responses. Most civilized species fail immediately because they lack the necessary killer instincts. Amy Torres looked worried. What happens if we fail? Failure means your species is denied membership and restricted to your home system indefinitely, the researcher replied. Success means you may be considered for limited membership with extensive monitoring. Jake looked at his team. They had come here hoping to join a peaceful alliance of worlds, but now they were being asked to prove they were dangerous enough to be worth fearing. The irony wasn't lost on him. We'll take the test, he decided. The first trial took place in a large arena deep within the alien ship. The walls were made of some kind of transparent material that allowed hundreds of aliens to watch from safe viewing areas above. Jake noticed that many of the observers seemed both fascinated and terrified by what they were about to see. Commander Bell had volunteered for the physical combat test. He stood in the center of the arena wearing his standard uniform, looking small compared to the space around him. Across from him, a large mechanical device was being assembled by alien technicians. The combat trial uses robotic opponents designed to mimic the fighting styles of the galaxy's most dangerous predators, researcher Kliktar explained to the watching crowd. The machine will adapt its tactics based on the subject's responses. The E-Day robot was finally complete. It stood 8 feet tall and had multiple arms ending in various weapons and tools. Its movements were fluid and predatory as it circled Ryan Bell like a mechanical hunter. The fight began without warning. The robot lunged forward with incredible speed, its metal claws reaching for Ryan's chest. But the human security chief was ready. He rolled to the side, came up running, and circled around behind the machine. What impressed the watching aliens wasn't Ryan's strength or speed. It was his intelligence. Instead of attacking the robot head-on, he studied its movements, looking for weaknesses. When the machine adapted to his tactics, he adapted right back, always staying one step ahead. The fight lasted almost 30 minutes. By the end, Ryan had found a way to disable the robot by targeting a weak joint in its leg mechanism. He stood over the defeated machine, breathing hard, but victorious. The alien crowd was silent. Finally, Commander Vextar spoke. He fights like a true predator, not with rage but with calculation. The second test was given to Dr. Park. She was placed in a room filled with complex puzzles and problems that required what the aliens called predator thinking. The challenges involved tracking moving targets, predicting behavior patterns, and finding the most efficient ways to corner and capture various objects. Lisa approached each puzzle with scientific curiosity, but Jake could see her predatory instincts taking over as the problems became more complex. She began thinking like a hunter, anticipating where her targets would move and setting traps to catch them. Fascinating, researcher Clicktar commented as they watched Lisa work. She processes information like both predator and prey simultaneously. She can think like the hunter and understand the hunted. The third test fell to Amy Torres. She was placed in command of a mixed group of alien volunteers and asked to coordinate them in completing a complex task under time pressure. The test was designed to see if humans would try to dominate other species through force or intimidation. Instead, Amy surprised everyone by treating the aliens as equals. She listened to their input, assigned tasks based on each individual's strengths, and kept the group working together smoothly. But there was something about her leadership style that made even the alien volunteers follow her commands without question. Pack coordination, Vextar observed. She leads without aggression, but the others instinctively recognize her authority. The fourth test was Jake's responsibility. He was presented with a moral dilemma where he had to choose between his own safety and the welfare of alien civilians. Without hesitation, Jake chose to protect the aliens, even though it meant putting himself in danger. This reaction seemed to disturb the watching crowd more than the previous tests. Several aliens began speaking urgently among themselves. Why? Does this concern them? Jake asked researcher Clicktar after completing the test. Because it shows you have protective instincts toward other species, the researcher replied. Previous predator species only protected their own kind. You treat other species as part of your pack. The final test required all 4 humans to work together. They were given a complex scenario that required coordination, tactical thinking, and quick decision-making. The test was designed to see how human pack behavior worked under pressure. Jake and his team moved together like they had been working as a unit for years. They communicated with gestures and brief words, each anticipating what the others would do. Their coordination was so smooth it looked almost telepathic. Remarkable, Clicktar said to the other observers. They function as a single hunting unit while maintaining individual initiative. I have never seen pack coordination this sophisticated. When all 5 tests were complete, the human delegation was brought back to the main chamber. The alien representatives looked even more nervous than before, if that was possible. Many were whispering among themselves in urgent tones. Council leader Zekmoth stood to address the crowd. The humans have completed all 5 trials of the Predator's test. This has never happened before in the recorded history of the Galactic Council. A small alien near the front of the chamber stood up. What does this mean? Are they more dangerous than we thought? It means they are exactly what we feared they were, another voice replied. Apex predators with intelligence, coordination, and moral reasoning. They are the perfect hunters. Commander Vextar moved to the center of the room, his massive frame commanding attention. The tests have revealed something important, he announced. These humans are not just predators, they are predators who have learned to protect instead of simply hunt. That makes them more dangerous, not less, an alien voice protested from the crowd. Or it makes them exactly what this galaxy needs, Vextar replied. Jake looked around the chamber at all the frightened alien faces. He was beginning to understand that this wasn't just about membership in their council. These aliens had lived their entire existence as prey species, always looking over their shoulders for predators that might be hunting them. Now they had found predators who claimed they wanted to be friends instead of hunters. The question was whether they would be brave enough to trust humanity's intentions, or whether their prey instincts would force them to see humans as the enemy no matter what. Dr. Park stepped forward. We know what we are, she said to the assembled. Aliens. Humans are predators. We evolved as hunters, and those instincts are still part of us. But we've also evolved the ability to choose how we use our nature. You say you choose to protect rather than hunt, Council Leader Zekmoth replied. But how can we trust the word of apex predators? Your very presence here proves you are expanding beyond your home territory. The silence in the chamber stretched on for what felt like forever. Jake could see the aliens struggling with their decision, fear and curiosity warring on their strange faces. Finally, Commander Vextar broke the quiet by walking slowly to the center of the room. There is something you humans must understand, the massive Korath said, his yellow eyes fixed on Jake's face. Something we have hidden from the galaxy for thousands of years. Council Leader Zekmoth made a sharp sound of protest. Commander, that information is classified at the highest levels. These humans have proven themselves, Vextar replied, firmly. They have shown us something we thought impossible. They deserve to know the truth about why their presence terrifies us so much. The Korath commander turned to address the entire chamber. Citizens of the Council, the time for secrets has ended. These apex predators must learn why every species in this galaxy evolved from prey animals. A wave of nervous energy swept through the watching aliens. Many began making sounds of distress or alarm. Dr. Park stepped closer to Jake, her scientific curiosity overcoming her caution. What are you talking about? She asked. Surely some species in the galaxy evolved as predators. Vextar's scaled face showed what might have been sadness. No, Dr. Park. Every single species represented in this council evolved from herbivores, scavengers, or prey animals. The Korath Empire, despite our fearsome reputation, are descendants of large plant eaters who developed weapons and armor to defend against the true predators of our world. Jake felt his understanding of the galaxy shift dramatically. What happened to the real predators? They destroyed themselves, a new voice said from the platform. A small crystalline being that Jake hadn't heard speak before was now glowing brighter than before. I am Keeper Shaltek, guardian of the ancient records. What Commander Vextar says is true. The crystal being began to project images into the air above the chamber. The pictures showed worlds that looked dead and empty, covered in ruins and bones. 47 different predator species achieved spaceflight in our galaxy over the last million years, Shaltek continued. Every single one followed the same pattern. They expanded rapidly, consumed resources without limit, and fought endless wars until they destroyed themselves and often their entire worlds. Amy Torres stared at the images of destruction. All of them? Every predator species did this? Without exception, the Keeper replied. Predators who reach intelligence seem unable to control their hunting instincts when applied to technology and warfare. They become so efficient at killing that they eliminate everything, including themselves. Commander Vextar nodded grimly. The last true predator species died out 12,000 years ago. The void stalkers of the Andromeda Spiral were persistence, hunters like your ancestors. They chased their prey across entire star systems, never stopping until they had consumed everything. Ryan Bell looked troubled. If they were persistence hunters like humans, how did they destroy themselves? They turned their hunting instincts on each other, Vextar explained. When they ran out of other prey, they began hunting their own species. Their civil wars lasted for centuries and ended with the complete extinction of their race. Dr. Park was studying the projected images with intense focus. But some of these worlds show signs of other species surviving after the predators were gone. How is that possible? Keeper Shaltek's crystal form pulsed with brighter light. The prey species learned to hide, to survive, to wait. After the predators destroyed themselves, we emerged from our hiding places and inherited empty worlds. Over thousands of years, we developed technology and space travel, but we never forgot the terror of living under the claws of true hunters. Jake was beginning to understand the full scope of what humanity represented to these aliens. You're saying that every civilization in this galaxy was built by species that survived by hiding from predators? Exactly, Vextar confirmed. We are a galaxy of survivors, Jake Martinez. Our entire civilization is based on the shared experience of being hunted. That is why your arrival has caused such fear. A small, furry alien that looked like the rabbit creature from earlier stood up on shaking legs. When we first received your radio signals 50 years ago, many of us wanted to ignore them completely. The mathematical patterns in your transmissions, the frequency of conflict references in your entertainment broadcasts, the way your messages spoke of expansion and exploration. It all reminded us of the predator species from the ancient records. Amy Torres looked confused. But our radio broadcasts were mostly peaceful. We sent music, scientific information, messages of greeting. You also sent military communications, competitive sports broadcasts, and entertainment filled with conflict scenarios. Another alien voice pointed out. To prey species, these signals looked like a predator species preparing for expansion. Commander Bell was quiet for a moment, processing this information. That's why you've been so nervous around us. You think we're going to follow the same pattern as the previous predator species. We know you will, a harsh voice said from the back of the chamber. Jake turned to see a large, armored creature that looked like a cross between a turtle and a crab. It is the nature of apex predators. You cannot help yourselves. But Vextar held up one massive hand to stop the discussion. That is what we believed until today. But these humans have shown us something unprecedented. The Korath commander began pacing again, his movements more thoughtful than threatening this time. In all our records of predator species, we have never seen one that developed protective instincts toward other life forms. Previous predators saw all other species as either prey, competitors, or irrelevant. What makes you think humans are different? The turtle-like alien demanded. Dr. Park stepped forward, her scientist's mind working to organize her thoughts. Because we domesticated other species instead of just hunting them. We formed partnerships with wolves, horses, cattle, and hundreds of other animals. We learned to protect and care for species that we could have easily destroyed. More than that, Jake added, we created laws to protect endangered species on our own world. We built zoos and nature preserves to keep other animals safe. We spent enormous resources to save species that had no economic value to us. Researcher Click Tar moved closer to the human group, his multiple eyes studying them with scientific fascination. This protective behavior toward prey species is completely unknown in predator psychology. Every previous apex predator species saw other life forms only as resources to be consumed. But how do we know this behavior will continue when humans spread to other worlds? The crystalline keeper asked. Every predator species showed restraint in their early development, only to become more aggressive as they gained power. Amy Torres spoke up, her voice carrying clearly through the translation system. Because we've already had the power to destroy our own world for decades, and we chose not to use it. Human weapons could eliminate all life on Earth, but we've spent more effort controlling those weapons than building new ones. The chamber erupted in surprised sounds. Many aliens began speaking rapidly among themselves. Nuclear weapons, Ryan Bell explained. Humans developed the ability to destroy our entire planet over 70 years ago. We've had wars since then, but no one has used those ultimate weapons. We chose restraint over destruction. Commander Vextar stopped pacing and stared at the humans with something like wonder. You possessed world-ending power and chose not to use it even in war? Many times, Jake confirmed. There were moments when using those weapons might have brought quick victory, but human leaders chose longer, harder paths, rather than risk destroying everything. Impossible, the turtle-like alien said flatly. No predator species has ever shown such restraint when given unlimited power. But Keeper Shaltek was studying the humans with new interest. Perhaps that is because they are not just predators, the crystal being said slowly. The test results show they have developed something entirely new. They are apex predators with prey species empathy. What does that mean? Dr. Park asked. It means you can think like both hunter and hunted, researcher Klicktar explained excitedly. You understand what it feels like to be prey because your species retains memories of being vulnerable. Early humans were not always the apex predators of Earth. You had to survive attacks from larger, more dangerous animals. Vextar nodded slowly. That is why you can protect other species. You remember what it was like to need protection yourselves. This changes everything, Council Leader Zekmoth said from the platform. If humans truly are predators who chose to become protectors, then they represent something unprecedented in galactic history. Jake looked around the chamber at all the alien faces watching him. He could see the fear beginning to mix with something else. Hope, maybe. Or at least curiosity. We're not perfect, he said honestly. Humans still fight sometimes. We still compete and argue and make mistakes. But we've learned that protecting others makes us stronger than hunting them would. The question now, Vextar said quietly, is whether a galaxy of prey species can trust the apex predators who claim they want to be our guardians, instead of our hunters. The Great Council Chamber had never seen a debate like this one. For 3 hours, representatives from 47 different species argued about what to do with humanity. Jake and his team sat in the center of the room, listening to the translation of dozens of different languages as the aliens discussed their fate. Some species wanted humans banned from the galaxy completely. Others thought humanity should be watched closely but allowed limited contact. A few brave voices suggested that humans might actually be helpful to have around. The debate grew heated when the small, insect-like alien that had run away earlier returned to speak. I have reviewed all available data on human behavior, Klicknick announced in his high, nervous voice. Their entertainment broadcasts show constant conflict. Their history is filled with wars. They are clearly dangerous. But their wars have become smaller and less deadly over time, Dr. Park interjected. Human conflicts today affect fewer people and cause less damage than our ancient wars. We're learning to solve problems without fighting. That proves nothing, the turtle-like alien declared. Predators always show restraint when prey is scarce. When humans find new worlds with new resources, their aggressive nature will return. Commander, Vextar had been quiet during most of the debate, but now he stood up. His massive frame commanded attention from everyone in the chamber. I have fought in more battles than any other being in this room, he said. I have studied warfare and conflict for my entire life. I know predator behavior better than anyone here. The chamber fell silent, waiting for his verdict. These humans are predators, Vextar continued. That cannot be denied. But they are predators who have learned something that no other apex species has ever mastered. They have learned to hunt ideas instead of flesh. What do you mean? Council. Leader Zekmoth asked. Watch how they approach problems, the Korath commander explained. In their trials, they did not simply attack obstacles with brute force. They studied, adapted, and found creative solutions. They hunt knowledge, hunt understanding, hunt ways to make things better. Amy Torres looked thoughtful. That's actually a good way to put it. Humans do hunt things, but we hunt diseases to cure them. We hunt problems to solve them. We hunt mysteries to understand them. You still hunt each other in your sports and competitions, an alien voice pointed out. But no one dies, Ryan Bell replied. We turned our competitive instincts into games where the only thing that gets hurt is pride. Researcher Klicktar had been taking notes throughout the debate. Now he approached the center of the chamber, his multiple eyes focused on the humans. I have been studying your behavior since you arrived, he announced. I have observed something remarkable. What have you seen? Jake asked. You are constantly scanning for threats and opportunities just like predators should. But when you identify other beings as non-threatening, you immediately begin trying to figure out how to help them or work with them. This is completely opposite to normal predator behavior. Dr. Park nodded. Humans are social creatures. We evolved to work in groups, so we automatically try to make alliances with anyone who isn't trying to hurt us. That is what makes you so dangerous, a new voice said from the platform. Jake looked up to see another crystalline being, similar to Keeper Shaltek, but larger and brighter. I am Prime Keeper Veltar, guardian of the most ancient records. The new keeper projected images into the air above the chamber. These pictures showed thriving worlds with multiple species living together in harmony. These are worlds from before the Predator Wars, Prime Keeper Veltar explained. Mixed civilizations where different species work together. They were destroyed when predator species arrived and turned cooperation into competition. But that's exactly what we want to rebuild, Jake said earnestly. Humans want to work with other species, not replace them. How can we trust you? The Prime Keeper asked. Every predator species has made similar claims at first contact. Jake looked at his team, then at the hundreds of alien faces watching him. This was the moment that would decide humanity's future in the galaxy. He thought about Earth, about all the people waiting back home for news of this first contact. He thought about the possibility of humans spreading across the stars, and what that might mean for species that had lived in fear for so long. You can't trust us based on our words, he said finally. We're asking you to trust us based on our actions. Give us a chance to prove what we are. And if you prove to be like all the other predator species? Council Leader Zekmoth asked. Then, you do what prey species have always done, Commander Bell said grimly. You survive. You hide. You wait for us to destroy ourselves like all the others did. The honesty of his answer seemed to surprise many of the aliens. Several began speaking, among themselves in urgent whispers. You admit you might become monsters? The turtle-like alien asked. We admit we might fail, Dr. Park replied. Any species might fail when faced with new challenges, but we're asking you to give us the chance to succeed. Amy Torres stepped forward. Look, we know you're scared of us, we understand why. But consider this. For the first time in galactic history, a predator species is asking to join your alliance instead of trying to conquer it. Doesn't that count for something? Commander Vextar began walking around the chamber, looking at each group of alien representatives. I have made my decision, he announced. The Korath Empire will support human membership in the Galactic Council. The reaction was explosive. Dozens of aliens began protesting loudly. Others seemed shocked into silence. A few made sounds that might have been approval. Commander, you cannot be serious, Council Leader Zekmoth said. You would invite Apex, predators into our alliance? I would invite Guardians into our alliance, Vextar corrected. For 10,000 years, we have lived in fear of the dark spaces between stars. We have built our civilization on the principle that we must hide from predators that might be out there. But what if, instead of hiding, we had predators who chose to protect us? That is a beautiful dream, the Prime Keeper said sadly. But dreams do not change nature. Maybe they do, Dr. Park said quietly. Maybe dreams are exactly what change nature. Humans dreamed of flying, so we built machines to carry us through the air. We dreamed of reaching the stars, so we built ships to bring us here. We dreamed of ending hunger and disease, so we developed medicine and agriculture. You also dreamed of weapons, an alien voice pointed out. Yes, Jake admitted. We dreamed of weapons too. But we also dreamed of peace, and that dream proved stronger. The debate continued for another hour, but Jake could sense that something had shifted. The aliens were no longer just arguing about whether humans were dangerous. They were debating whether humanity might be the answer to problems they had lived with for thousands of years. Finally, Council Leader Zekmoth called for a formal vote. All species in favor of granting provisional membership to humanity will signal now. Lights began appearing throughout the chamber as different alien delegations made their choices. Jake held his breath as he counted the glowing indicators. When the count was finished, Zekmoth announced the results. The motion passes by a margin of 3 votes. Humanity is granted provisional membership in the Galactic Council, subject to restrictions and monitoring. Jake felt his knees go weak with relief. They had done it. Humanity had been accepted into galactic civilization. What kind of restrictions? Amy Torres asked. No military expansion beyond your current system for 50 Earth years, Zekmoth replied. All human vessels traveling in council space must carry alien observers, and you must accept the role of protectors for any species that requests your aid. Protectors? Ryan Bell asked. Commander Vextar smiled, showing all of his sharp teeth. You will be our guardians against the threats that even we cannot handle. There are dangers in the dark spaces between galaxies, creatures that even predators fear. If you truly are hunters who chose to become protectors, then perhaps it is time for the prey species of this galaxy to have guardians who understand both sides of the ancient struggle. Jake looked out at the assembled aliens, finally understanding the full weight of what humanity was being offered. They weren't just joining an alliance of civilizations. They were being asked to become the defenders of a galaxy that had spent millions of years learning to survive without predators. "We accept," he said simply. As the chamber erupted in a mixture of celebration and continued worry, Jake thought about the long journey home to Earth. He would carry news that would change everything for humanity. They were no longer alone in the universe, and they had been given a role that no predator species had ever been trusted with before. The prey species of the galaxy had decided to trust the apex predators who claimed they wanted to be shepherds instead of wolves. Now humanity would have to prove that trust was not misplaced. Looking around at all the alien faces, some still fearful but others showing cautious hope, Jake realized that this was just the beginning. The real test would come when humans spread out among the stars and faced the temptations that had destroyed every other predator species before them. But for the first time since leaving Earth, Jake felt truly optimistic about humanity's future. They had been given a chance to be something unprecedented in galactic history, predators who protected instead of consumed,